And to kind of bring my point home today at the school football team. And they stood, how many days a week you practice? 6. What about Sunday on our own? It sounds like 7. How many hours did you practice? 3 hours. You have radio and TV in practice? Of course not. And your girlfriend's going to practice? Of course not. You get tired, what do? We keep running. Good, 21 hours a week. You study 7 days a week?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, so I say your legs are running you indoors that your mind can't keep you in. You got to mix. So addressing the issues of motivation and effort and all, we are all about that. We can work together on that. On the other hand, the disparities in hiring of police and the like, it's long overdue. There should be some immediacy about that. Not to satisfy my longing, the people who live here need those issues addressed, and now.
And you know the demographics, I assume,
Pretty much.
of the African American community in Rockford. And we don't, I mean, you can't look at the census data and not begin to wonder about 2 things. The individual commitment to getting my education and getting a job, and the latent, undercurrent, cancerous racism that has been part of this community forever. Chuck started covering it in 67?
I'm not that old.
Well, you know, I mean, it's
72.
72, okay. Well, I mean, it's not a surprise. But those demographics should scare the crap out of anybody coming in from the outside, and that includes you, because the education levels are not there. The economic levels are not there. The commitment to going to school is not there.
I think we need to see a sense of hope among particular populations in our community, that they are wanted, they do make a difference, they can. Because I think there's a lot of people, even more with the economic situation being the way it is, feeling just disconnected from everything.
Absolutely.
You know, the reason I called, let me kind of step back and go another direction. I'm trying to get along with you guys. Don't y'all beat up on me.
This is an editorial board. That doesn't happen.
I went to Niles West High School Monday morning. I try to do a mix of like Niles West and Jefferson and the city schools. I do it in maybe 2 or 3 jails a month, trying to relate to all these youth. And a real first class school. And so they said, we have 32 languages, and we have a couple thousand kids here from Cambodia and Thailand. They've been in camps. And they kept talking. They said something that caught me differently. They said, these kids came here at age 15, and they had been in camps in Cambodia and Thailand or something. And they had never been to school. They didn't even speak good Thai. We brought them here, and in 2 years, with concentrated classes, 3 or 5 hours a day on English, they learn the language. And once you learn the language, once you can read, you can reason, and you can solve problems because you can read, reason, and think. And to think about those kids who, the kids on the west side need the same thing the kids from Cambodia need.
Absolutely. No question.
And that's a concentrated focus of a dosage of English and language, and then math, and then they went a step further, employed their parents. Because unemployed parents become a weight at the other end of this thing on both sides. So one must think a little more comprehensively. So either they came, they didn't stay, they were true, they didn't come back. That is a machinery. You know, that's a self-evident thing. They come a little and say something wrong, get cat, and don't come back. That's not a solution. But I was very impressed with how they're taking kids. You know, we always, if you lose a kid by 3rd or 4th grade, you've kind of lost him. Junior and senior is too late. They were taking kids 15, 16 years old, but never spoken the language, their own language very well, and I was not at all. And in fact, with concentrated teaching and focusing them and their parents turning them around. So why not something like for the second largest city in the state? Why not think in some creative terms of hope? Because the kids I met on the streets Sunday here, they've just meant them recycling the spare. I was trying to inspire them as best I could.
You met with Dr. Sheffield this morning, right?
good meeting with her today, and members of her board and the staff.
And what kind of dialogue did you have on these kind of topics?
I'm very impressed with her and her background as an educator and her staff. But I know that she's going to need an awful lot of bottom-up help. Trying to mobilize the parents to get their kids to sign that pledge. And even to try to get ministers to initial a child's report card, because the minister may be the only man or father figure in many of those children's lives. The minister taking enough interest in the initial report card itself is the church affecting the culture in that way. The idea of their being sensitive to, in school we need more truant officers than police. So if your kid is absent, you look for him for reasons of why didn't he come to school? It may have been hungry. May have been cold.
Right.
I mean, truant officers is a different deal than more police in schools, for example. Teaching them the value of multicultural education, why it's the advantage to get beyond their box. I was impressed with some of her innovation, but the ministers have a real critical role, because the most organized parents are in churches. The most that are organized are labor unions. And so trying to get them to sign that pledge, a parent-teacher joint venture, is a thing we can do to help her. And then many of the young female teachers, not so young female teachers, who overreact quickly to young black males, is a factor in the expulsion thing. I was saying to someone Friday, I do not remember growing up a single expulsion. We're angels, but I do remember them calling somebody's mama or taking her to the principal's office. I do not remember a single expulsion in 12 years. This mass expulsion is a phenomenon. In the sense of those who were there, don't come back, and others don't show up. It's a factor in...
There's an enormous amount of dysfunction.
Oh, yeah.
We saw that with the deseg suit. We lived that. It's real. The deseg suit goes away because of legal issues, and a lot of the progress that was being made in the 90s disappears. The training's not there. It is dysfunction. The board shares those goals with you.
Well, I feel if we could get a critical mass of parents to change their disposition toward education with the help of ministers and media, that would be a piece of closing some of that gap, bottom up, as well as obviously some top-down innovations have to take place.
At the risk of undercutting my business,
Oh.
what the heck can the media do? Because the audience that you're talking about, the critical mass that needs to be built, doesn't read my newspaper, doesn't go to my website. What do we do?
Well, this kind of 1, 9, 18, 27, 36 rhythm, no one in town should be able to say they didn't know it was report card week.
Okay.
See, assuming distractors do read it. I mean, no one, with 30,000 kids, which means it's big enough to be urban and small enough to be manageable. Because so many of our kids, they go to school late, right? And they never catch up. That's a piece of the thing. But on that, we know now report card week. No one should be able to read your paper and listen to a disc jockey on TV that misses that this is report card week. And begin, in some sense, judge schools early on by how many parents showed up. Businesses can get liberal leave for purpose of going to school because it takes less time to go to school than it does to go to court, trying to beg their case when it doesn't work, right? And because we also know there's a higher turnout that first 9 weeks. And those who do well tend to come back for some more. It's almost basketball season. That first 9 weeks is football season, it's mating season, it's new seniors, it's all the joy. And those who do well come back. Those who don't come well tend not to go to school or come and veer off, right? And so that's a critical mass for parents, that and media. Now, the second week involves Thanksgiving and that Christmas period. If parents miss that first 9 weeks of checking on their stock, and they're trying to make that extra Thanksgiving, Christmas money, they look up just after Christmas, it's report card time again, right? Well, they've lost half the battle. And if they don't go up at all, around February, it's like pregnancy time. I want to go to the Army time.